All right, hey, good morning, folks. So we're going to do some more artwork for Eberron. Give me a second here to check my signal, make sure we're coming through clear. Do a quick intro, social media boost, and then we'll get to work here. It's a little later than I would usually start. I'm on vacation today, yes, for the holiday. So I'm going to do a little bit of artwork here for a while, maybe till 9 o'clock, and then I think I'll be logging off for a little while to get stuff done around here. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Get stuff done around here. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's drop that out of view. And let me grab that so I can post it online. For those that are already familiar with the channel, you can skip ahead a minute if you want while I do the postings. But for everyone else that's either catching the channel for the first time or trapped here in time space with me here and now, hi, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I've been focusing my attention on building content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, publishing it on the DMsGuild. I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999, and I've been creating content. I've been designing and publishing content since, I want to say 2017. But I think it's actually 2018. Yeah, 2018 is right, because that's when the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica came out. That's the same year that I started actually publishing stuff on DMsGuild. So I've done some previous work with like Inkwell Games, making a bunch of like random encounter table charts and like one-shot layers. A lot of fun. They've been like maybe 100 and 120 of those. I think that was in 2017 that I did that. And then from there I got into 5e personally. And then started designing for it. So Eberron's my favorite campaign setting. It has been since 2004. So it's thrilling to be building an Eberron adventure. It's the first adventure I created for myself and published. So I'm on the X Twitter platform if you are as well. I'm at Phil Kearney. You can see the illustrations that I post, works in progress, different articles, coupons and stuff, whatever. Check that out if you want, if you're still on there. Here on YouTube, thanks guys, subscribe. Hey, more subscribers, thanks. Subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when I'm live in the future. Here's the full playlist of all 382 episodes of us making all of the maps, all of the tokens for the adventure. And now we're going through the process of actually doing illustrations on pages while I continue to do layouts on the other side. I got another 2.5 pages done. I should probably have the other 1.5 pages done today. We're going to come back and stream around 11:30, I think, to continue playing with Bastions. And then I'll log out at 4, and then I'll be gone until Thursday. We'll be back Thursday morning, and then Thursday night. We'll be back Friday morning, Friday lunch, Saturday brunch, and then our week will loop back into a normal order of operations. Monday, I'll be back on in the morning doing artwork, and Monday night will be playtesting, Martial Powers playtesting. We didn't have playtesting last night, probably just because of schedules, like everyone's holiday schedules and stuff. We're all still recovering from that. Let's see. That fits. Yeah, let's mess around with this. Let's look at a reference. So what happens is this is in one of the module. The adventure is broken up into 3 parts, and each part has different regions inside of it. So as your team is navigating and making choices through the adventure, they choose which regions they go to. So when you go to a physical location, that's like a prepared encounter. So it's like you have that set up for when they visit that location, these things happen. That's a prepared. You prepared it. It's a prepared encounter. There's wandering encounters, which is like maybe every hour. Like for every hour you're marching through the manifest zone, roll a 1d6. If you roll a 1, you have a wandering encounter. Undead have noticed you and are now closing to attack, or something like that. Hair here's weird. Yeah, so those are wandering encounters. They might happen or not, and they don't really have much to them. So they are just what they are. And then there's optional encounters, which are prepared encounters that you don't need to use, or that don't necessarily show up. Like if you go to the fortress and you don't go to the cemetery, you don't need the prepared content of the cemetery. but it's assumed that the characters can go and do that. Like it's built in there for the characters to specifically do if they choose. Optional encounters are things that the DM can decide if the players are going to do, because you can generally just drop them in anywhere that you want. It's like, where are we at? 15 miles into the forest? Okay, cool. Let's do a forest encounter. And here's an optional forest encounter that's prepared and ready to go that the team can wander into. So like it's a step in between, right? It's like both at the same time. So one of the primary optional, the only prepared encounter. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick check here. Okay, I think I can pull that off. That break is important for me to know. That's good. Ooh, that's good destruction. This block right in here. Right in here. Yeah. Okay, that's what I need to actually think about. It's got that porous angling effect. Okay, it's like tubes. It's like shoots. Yeah, it's like shoots of bamboo or tubes. Okay, I think I can do that. Let's go with a chisel. And let's just start chiseling. I think this will be a good tool for this. I tell you, each of these pages, this 5-inch by 10-inch it's a 5.5 by 10-inch tall space that the each column occupies, and it's been a real interesting challenge to parse information throughout the adventure in chunks of information that sit on that size of a page. And of course there's 3 columns because it's a 16 by 9 ratio. But I think I'm being set up to succeed yet again, because Terran Pound's Indestructible Boy, he had some a great that's not a type of conversation. What is it? Just basically a rant or a riff about like what's going to be happening with tariffs and stuff. How's that going to impact RPG production, and as an indie, what should you be thinking about? And God bless you, Terran. That's good content, man. That's just really good, smart content. And I don't really approach this business as I don't approach any of this really as a business. I'm intentionally shying away from making it a business until I feel I can, actually give it the amount of attention it needs as a business to be able to grow as a business and do stuff. So I'm still baby stepping in that direction. But the words of wisdom that he chose to share was that zines 5 by 8.5 pages are really cheap and easy to publish, send out, print. Easy process to use. So that's a format to be a format worth exploring. And so. Excuse me. So what am I doing right now? I am creating, it's 104 pages in total, and each column is its own collection of thoughts that you can use in the adventure, or it's broken up into so much piecemeal, and it guides you through steps of using or not using something that you can just add and remove stuff as you need. But all the maps are modular. It's designed to have a modular feel to it, so that the DM feels safe to fuck around with it without breaking anything. So that's what I wanted to do, for you to be like, they're like Roblox or like Duplox, where it's just, they're just thick tools that you can't break, but you can make click together and imagination things with, just like, you know, toddlers do with Legos. Like Duplex are those like big fat, can't swallow them Legos. So this is designed with that idea where I'm giving you these thick, tumbly building blocks that you can cobble together into different shapes of and paths of adventure for the players to play. And like from a broader perspective, like if there is going to be more people getting into doing paid DMing, then having something that they can use to rebuild and to keep changing every adventure or with every group that they play through. And if somebody wants to play Eberron, this I would contest that as a one shot. This is a pretty good piece of meat. Because you can start off really deep into the adventure because it's just the entire adventure just funnels you to the ending. And it's your choice what slalom you want to sled down, but you'll end up there. And so you can have, depending on how long you want the campaign or the adventure to run, you can drop people in at any point along the slalom, and they'll still hit the ending. So if you just want a one shot, just start them really close to the ending. That's why the adventure is broken up into 3 parts. And the second part is broken up into 3 regions that you could use just one region to get into part 3 right away, or they can be chained together so that you have to go through all 3 regions to get underground, depending on how the DM presents the information. Like, there can be a secret door here, but there doesn't have to be. If there's no secret door here, you can't get underground quickly here, so you then have to move on to the next point. You can block these points off from the players of knowing about them, and then once they actually get down into the facility, and when they're looking through the place, they can find exit points out that they didn't know existed when they were trying to get in. So now it's like, we have escape routes, so we can push. So it keeps them in the dungeon and helps lean towards, again, funneling them towards the Nexus at the end of the campaign to defeat the bad guys and end the day. So if you want to do like a 4-hour one shot, you can actually start them in the Nexus dungeon like 2 rooms away from where the Nexus is at. So they go through like 3 or 4 fights, and then they hit the big bad, and you can call that a day. Or you can stretch it out across multiple days by starting all the way back in part 1 at the village. And something just doesn't feel right about this. What's going on, buddy? We doing okay here? Okay. I do like that. I'm going to be this is basically sculpting with paint right now. I'm trying to produce a 3-dimensional foreshortening effect with 2 colors. I think that seems right. You have that scaling effect. There, like that. That feels good. Like that. that. That feels good. I'm going to pick up this color over here to blend that in. Hey, Domo. I am doing really well. Thank you. I'm having a good morning. Do I have a timer set? Yeah, I do. 7:30. I decided to sleep in a little bit today. Enjoy my my last day on vacation. I'm going to come back and do some more Bastion stuff around like in 4 hours from now. This should peel down a little bit more. Let's grab this. Like that. This. And then like that. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see if I can get a good thicketiness to this. I will say this, as amazing as Bob Ross art is, it's not designed to be like super close up. It's mid to background. Foreshadow, like super close foreground tends to just be dirt or like minimal groundwork, sticks, grass, nothing too intense in detail. Because the stippling work that he does relies kind of on the eye plane illusions about, I know, like you fake your own resolution into random patterns like that. It's just something your eye naturally does. So you can get away with implying a lot of foliage without actually producing a lot of foliage. Your eye, the viewer's eye will just naturally fill in a lot of that missing information because they're so often depicted at like 100, 400, a mile away, 400 feet, like, you know, like far away. So your eye is just going to fill in the details because you recognize what that is. So you just imagine all the detail that goes with it. It's a great method, super clever. But it leaves you with having to find your own solutions when you start dealing with that. Like with that in your distance implies a high level of fidelity of when you zoom in. So if the amount of detail you have in the background from the Bob Ross method is the same level of the same density of information, like the same level of detail, with something that's much closer in the foreground, it looks flat. So when you move further away from an image, you want to have less details, but so you need to set a point of how much detail do I want in the page and make that the center point of maximum detail, and then from there try to pan out and reduce the amount of detail further away from that center point that you move so that you can direct the eye to focus on the thing that you want, focus your time spent production on that point, and then be able to utilize your style of expression to be able to make the details kind of melt away from the center point. I mean, you can say, fuck off, you know, I'm going to do all the detail that I want, and that's great. But that's the approach that I've been attempting to nurse in my own style of being able to direct the eye that way while also having reasonable production times for all these pieces. So I love working in color, but I'm painfully aware that it is far slower than if I were to just do ink work or grayscale, which I could easily do in a zine style pamphlet if I started producing like the delving books that I'm going to kickstart. If I put them in that zine format, there's such a system-like thing that they could be picked up by OSR pretty easily, or Shadow Dark enthusiasts. So I think that's a good way to go. That feels pretty good. I think I can get away with like putting a shoot coming out of here like this. I want to have here like that. Hey, what's up? Yeah. Yeah, I control that. Gotta control that. That feels pretty good. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna merge that down, and then we'll start sculpting over here. Go in here like that. I'm between words right now. Don't mind me. But hey, I'm supposed to be entertaining you, so maybe I should say something. Yeah, I don't have words right now. I'm just going to work. I went back to that spot again. It just kind of pulled me in. Let's see if I can step away from that spot. There, that feels good. Just do a bunch of shoots. It should be fine. What's up? Working from... Hey, good on you. Ugh. I like having a channel be like a study hall. There's a few different how to RPG and Indestructible in particular. I enjoy as just white noise while I'm working on whatever I'm working on off screen. But really, they're really easy to listen to. They're interesting. They have good takes on a lot of different subjects. And it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like RPG talk radio, you know. It's stuff you can work to, you can kind of tap into, or you know, afford to not be paying attention to in specific. I think that format kind of requires a level of disengagement from the audience. So like you need to be able to dip in and out of interacting with chat, because if you're going to go on a diatribe, you can't really allow yourself to be distracted by a random question. So you want to break that stuff up into like question answer periods, I guess. And Fred Wheeler with How to RPG, he's very structured and specific about it. So he'll do a live stream, and he says, okay, well, this is going to be extracted content here, and then he'll go on a diatribe about a topic. So he's like, I'm going to make some content here real quick, and then we can riff off of it here in chat. So he'll have a prepared statement about an idea that he'll just do during stream, so we can hear it live, and then he'll finish the statement and offer people to reply, comment, join his Discord, whatever, and then basically can it. And then he's like, okay, well, there's that then. So the idea is, and then start riffing off of it some more, like examples or whatever, or like building some sort of like maybe a class feature or something that goes along with whatever it is that he was just talking about. I like that format. It's a good format. I've been thinking about that for myself a lot, actually, because everything that I have random topics of conversation all the time, but they're random. There's no intention, and I have an issue of going back through my own feeds and extracting excerpts. It's just I think there's I don't know much about the clip function, but I think that clip function requires that I listen to my own stream every day and then clip the excerpts, and I don't know how much I really want to do that. And that what does that say about me, huh? You want to listen to my own content? It's I think it's that because of the amount of time that it takes to pull those things out of the random streams, that the only thing I would have an opportunity to ever listen to is be my own voice. Because I'm already doing that here on stream, and now I need to do it during my downtime so I can extract the conversations further. Like, when do I get my own appreciation of what I enjoy? And the answer would be I would hate myself. So I can't do it that way. So maybe I do need to... What I did like doing was, when I finished the Spelljammer book, was release that series of videos about the Spelljammer book that explains the different mechanics and ideas that are inside of it. I love doing that. That was so much fun, and then becomes something I can make reference to in the future in like Reddit conversations and stuff. So it's really useful content, and it takes time, but I don't do it consistently, so it's not something that people like expect from me. I don't think people expect much from me. Which is great if you're doing a hobby, but if I'm going to build this into something a little bit more that has more room for growth, I need to restructure it. And I always have that conversation around this time of year. Not only is it January with resolution and stuff like that, but I'm on a vacation, so I'm thinking about, hey, if I actually was doing this full time, how would or could I conduct business with this much time on my hands every day? If the money was all taken care of, if all I had to do was just do the work, what would be the work that I would be doing? And there's a lot of administrative stuff, which is a big barrier from going from part-time hustle into attempted business. Because the minimal amount of content that I just build one thing at a time and take my time to do it without any preset schedules. So I have like a lot of time on my hand here, which makes it super casual, and I think is good for my emotional health, but it specifically avoids administrative work. Like I could be wrapping stock art into packaging to sell online, or like through my Patreon. I could already be doing that, and I could be marketing, hey, I do stock art, here it is. But like, I don't really do stock art. I do art that I need for the adventure or the book that I'm making, and then if some of it's cool and seems like it could be useful to other people, maybe then I'll extract it as a piece of stock art. But I don't even go through the effort of doing the packaging for that. So it's not what I really want to be doing. I have this creative hammer that just keeps pounding in my head. Here's another book. Here's another book. Here's another book. And it doesn't want me to slow down to market the shit. It's just like it wants me to get it out. And it'll figure itself, all that admin stuff and what it's supposed to be and what's it mean for me and all that. Just shut up and work. Just build the thing. You only have this much time. Stop worrying about it. And I think that feels more pure. But I feel driven to, like, in the time I'm investing, I feel I should have some sort of, I feel compelled to have some sort of return. Because I'm not so fabulously wealthy that I don't need to worry about the future. So it's like I need to optimize time and effect while honoring the process and like the emotional needs of the creative arts. So it's like I'm really shying away from making any hard-line decisions about any kind of thing. But I think this Kickstarter idea, I think that's an opportunity for me to try to reach out of my shell, as it were, and start exploring those ideas. What's up? Hey, Karen. I'm ranting about the future again. Don't mind me. Karen, has physical therapy started yet? That's turning out pretty good. I think sculpting the bottom here is probably the better decision right now. This seems to be where I'm logging some success, so I should get, well, the getting's good. Let's grab that darker bit there. Now that feels right. There's my darkest bits. Thank you. D made that darkest bits. There. I love nature or organic shapes like bark and branches and bush clumps. All that stuff is just so much fun. I love it. So fun creating with these things. Yay. No, that's right. I bet. Not only do people want to be on vacation, but other people want to try to cash out their insurance for the year. So everyone's like, that's how the dentists are at. Like the dentists are slammed Q4 because everyone's crowding in all the stuff that they need to get done as soon as they can. Feels pretty good. There. I feel like my music disappeared. No, it's there. Oh, it's because my because my heater turned on. I just can't hear anything over it. I bet you can't hear the heater at all. Everyone on stream is always like, sorry if the heater is bothering you, or sorry if that truck 20 miles away is bothering you. It's like no one can ever hear anything that you're talking about. So whenever I get distracted by something, I assume you can't get distracted by it. You don't even hear it. I would be shocked if you can hear the heater through my microphone. Hey, I'm going to take a sip of coffee and take a second. Let's pan back a bit and assess where we're at. That's looking pretty good. It's a little bit too uniform. I need to break that shape up a bit. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. I want to look back at our reference again, just to feel the gist of it. Check. I feel like I want to take a break from working on this, but I want to finish up this outer shell here first, and then I'm going to go back to cleaning up tree silhouette, branch silhouettes. That's something we did not complete yesterday, but this was calling to me. I wanted to mess around with this because I like this. I like this. I love doing this. This underline here, where the bark is breaking into the meat. This is super fun lighting and texturing stuff. I am loving it. So, but I don't quite have sussed out how to transition the display of changing angles there. So I think that's why I'm going to want to take a break, just to give myself a chance to process like how to boil that angling down into proper foreshortening with the technique that we're using. There, like that. So yeah, I'm going to, what time is it? 8 o'clock? I've got a timer going, right? I mean, I've got a timer, right? Nope, didn't turn it on. All right. Well, my plan was to go till 9 o'clock today. So, and then and then on Thursday, when I'm back on my normal routine, I'll just do the normal 6:30 till 8 o'clock, like usual. I'd like to try to get up a little bit earlier, but it's just it hasn't been panning out. So I'm thinking I'm thinking about looking at my sleep cycles a little bit and see if there's something I can do to improve performance there. Whoop. Like that. Like that. Let's go to there. I think blending that in. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think the foreshortening is a little bit too sharp. I want to try to. It's not bad. I need to have like some random sticks that are like peeling down a little bit more to show that it broke off, and maybe a little less tuft up here and more droop down here might be the right way to do it. Since I only get yeah, well, that makes sense. Well, good. I hope you find that to be. I hope you're self-motivated easily to do so. I can be pretty consistent. I can be pretty inconsistent about calisthenics or whatever it is that I should be home doing for myself to. I don't know. I had plantar fasciitis a while ago, and I did pretty good on medication there, or on the rehabilitation exercises I could do from home. So I'll take that back. I've actually had a pretty good history of taking care of myself. So it's good that you have exercises you can do on your own. Joe? Oh my God. What a great. Oh my God. That's awesome. Goes off a bit. And then let's see if we can add some layering to it. That's awesome. Let's merge that down. That feels good. Shorten that up a bit. Yeah, I think I'm doing this okay. There, like that. Like this. You are achieving this point. Hey, thank you. I like to be my best. Let's go back to our reference, just to okay. Let's do that. I think I'm about ready to walk away from this particular part of the piece. I feel like this needs to pull away. Yeah. What if I... Nah. This could probably go. If I can, yeah, if I can massage this to angle over, like it's like really stumped. It really should feel like it like cut up like around here. I mean, realistically, like out here would probably be more realistic. So I would need to have like foreshortening like that. And I don't feel like I have that with these angles here right now. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. But I'm not gonna worry about that in the instant. Let's go in and pull our foliage away and conceal our squatters. And let's continue doing. So we got these branches fairly cleaned up, but these are still really scraggly, and these are completely unkempt. So we have some cleanup work to do. We knew this step in the process was here. We started that yesterday, but it's just a natural result of the sort of sketchy style that I work with when I'm building out composition. Insert word salad here. So I'm going to mess around with this for the rest of the session. Go. Just clean up all those. We'll be cleaning edges for the rest of the session for sure. But it's a good, calm, meditative space to be in. Has a almost origami bonsai feel to it to trim away what's unnecessary in the growth of the branch. But yeah, these poor random NPCs get stuck in the tree. They're in the forest, and the military told them not to be there, but they were in the forest anyway. And then a bunch of undead attacked, so they climbed up the tree. There were 3 of them, but after a day, one of the branches snapped when that guy fell asleep, and now there's 2 of them. The encounter begins when the characters hear the branch snap and they cry out. Then and the potential, the optional scream of terror as their companion gets eaten alive by undead. And then it gets quiet. Sounds came from the north. What do you want to do? If you ignore it, it'll be flanking you in about 4 minutes. I like to have like consequences like that of like ignoring a potential threat. Like if you were to ignore that threat and proceed on whatever it is that caused that noise, where's it going to be in relation to you in about like 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour from now? And it's a tell, and it's totally leading the team. But from my perspective, as a DM who's narrating a story, it's like you're supposed to be portraying characters that like know the risks of stuff and have survived this long because they're really good at calculating those risks. If they weren't, they would have overextended themselves and gotten killed by now. So by like the higher the level your characters get, the more you can just feed them like metadata like that. Like you have like this sliminess effect is like, that there's a number of caustic slimes that are in dungeons that create that sort of stuff. And the scarring that you see on the stone is indication that one of them got burned at one point. So you can like create little tells like that to add little like snippets so that the players are getting interesting information and is being framed around the competence of their characters. So that they're just by default being portrayed as more heroic than what the players may have thought. Because the DM's like, yeah, these are the things that your characters are capable of doing, insert blah. Anyway, whatever. It's stuff I think about. These are all going to get masked over and disappear because they're intruding into the text, so they're going to get blotted with the the blot layer that we have. There. Anyway, it's not doing its job very well right now. But we're going to end up fading out a lot of this stuff that's overlapping. You have to overlap this. Oh, God damn it! Come on, Kearney. Yeah, okay. Disable. Stop messing around with the layer mask. But at some point, I'm going to have to mess around with the layer mask. So once we get these branches resolved, we'll probably start working on the actual squatters and the tree itself, so we can make progress there and start getting like the gal. I think her hair is too dark against the backdrop, so I'll probably make her blonde instead. I would say probably the biggest advantage I feel as an artist with 5e disintegrating any kind of like regionality of like different skin pigments and stuff like that. Anyone can look like anything, anywhere. Allows me the freedom of when I'm doing an illustration. If like in this instance, like that gal's hair was blending too much into the trunk. So I can just decide she's blonde, and like there's no like racial style guide that goes along with Karnath specifically, or what was Sire. What was Sire? Like there's no, I can use whatever pigments make sense for what the composition needs. I need this character to stand out more, make her blonde, so that there's separation between her tan skin and the trunk with more value variance. So I'll have a stronger composition for it. Stuff like that. But I like that. I like that a lot. It gives me the freedom to let the characters become part of the composition instead of overlaying it or having to worry about. Well, I don't really work with consistent characters from like panel to panel anyway. I tend to show different types of adventures interacting with material. Again, that allows me to adapt the composition to not be creatively limited by what the character is supposed to look like. There we go. Hey, thank you, Timely Timer. I'll do more of these. I'm very much anxious to get the page layouts done for this. I'm about done with about 50 of the 100, about 54 of the 104 pages. So, and we're starting to get into structured dungeons, which means that it's like each page will have map and description of the room on that map. Kind of like what we did for the villages above. The villages, once we started figuring out how to pace, like how to space out the information that was in each of the buildings of the village, that started to go really quickly. And so there's a good like 45 pages of the remaining content of that same format. Like almost everything at this point is rooms in a dungeon and its description and the map space. So with God's grace, that's going to move a little bit faster I had originally had hoped, hilarily, is that a word, hilarily? That I'd be done with the page layouts in November. And boy, was that was dumb. I always overestimate my ability to complete layouts. It always takes longer than I think. So I need to start really being honest with myself about, this shit takes time. If it was just a matter of processing the words into the proper shape, it wouldn't take so long. But it's that I've never dealt with this 16:9 ratio before, and again, parsing the information into such small blocks of text is it's a hell of a challenge. But we found a lot of ways to improve the language inside of the adventure during that process anyway. So it's time well spent. It's definitely going to be a stronger adventure as a result of the effort. It's been such a colossal amount of effort already. It's heavy. Which is why I work on so many other projects instead of just powering through this one. Because if I just tried to bash my head against this until it was done, I would hate it. Because I did that with the Color Mana book, the Core Mechanics, the first Color Mana book the main Color Mana book that I did. I powered my way through that book. And if I had instead been working on Spell Point Sorcerer on the side or whatever at the same time, so that I didn't have to stay focused just on I can't move forward until I finish this specific page, and then spend the next 3 days on that specific page. That's hell. That is hell. After doing that, I was I have to diversify. I have to be working on at least one other project at the same time. So I just have a gear I can shift to get away from burning out on the thing that needs to get done. So it ends up making stuff that I may take a long time to get completed, but so far I've been absolutely in love with everything that I've made. So it's working. It's a slow, arduous process, but I've been very specific about not being in a hurry. But as the adage goes, slow makes smooth, smooth makes fast. So I am learning how to be smooth right now. And once I'm smooth, I will be fast. That feels good. I like that. Spent a little bit of time working on that branch, but this all feels really, really good. Yeah, let's finish down here so we can call this whole section resolved. You're an expert at tree sage wisdom. Thanks a lot, Domo. I had been doing prep for the mega dungeon, of course, because we're playtesting. I have to keep feeding them rooms to fight through to see how the system plays. and we didn't have, just because of the vacation time, because of the holidays, we didn't have enough folks at the table yesterday to be able to play. So I reclaimed my time and worked on the Eberron book, but it left me. I am anxious and excited to DM the Mega Dungeon every week. Not only am I getting good information about like how the system plays and watching how the team utilizes the martial power mechanics in the first place, but I love running Mega Dungeons. They are so fun. They're not high on story, you know? Like it's progressive story creation stuff. It's just rooms in a dungeon, and you end up making whatever story there is out of the events that occur. But that's the fun. That's the actual fun of a Mega Dungeon, is having this environment that your players go into and start fucking with. I guess that's the whole point. So building this environment for the team to run amok in and see what that what shape that takes. That's just awesome. It's entertaining to the DM to see how the players just muck around with the stuff that you come up with. Like that's the fun that DMs have with dungeons. And when you're running too much of a plot line, I guess if you're like really thespian about it, you can have like that social dungeon appeal where you're able to create these like if your characters are in depth enough with enough emotional attachment to and dedication to the portrayal of them to hold on real quick. I'm gonna grab this. To be able to set up traps and stuff for them, their characters in like conversation and stuff, like backstory traps and stuff. I'm not into that like at all, but if you're at that level of like role playing emphasis in your characters, you can get there as well, of creating like these characters that you know the team is going to interact with, and from that thespian perspective, the joy is seeing how they respond to the conversation. For the environment, for the exploration enthusiast, and I am an exploration enthusiast. By far. I love ability checks. I love how quick and broad and how much material they can cover in a single die roll. I think players just most naturally get how the exploration mechanic works. It gamifies it to a point where it provides structure and reason around why there's a process, but is open enough that you can be improvisational and creative with it, like spontaneous and playful. So ability checks, I think like that exploration tier, I really think like that's where it's at. So like, you know, it only makes sense that I would love Mega Dungeons. The end. Thank you for attending my Phil Talk. Do you use Theater of the Mind or VTT? You are okay. So that's a great question. When I'm running the Martial Powers playtest, which is 5e specific, I'm sure you have seen videos of that and like live streams I've done of the Martial Powers. It's a alternate magic system for martial characters, kind of like a mana-based maneuver system, and so that's a very crunchy mechanical system for martials, so I use Virtual Tabletop Roll20 when I playtest that. When I ran this adventure in playtesting, use Virtual Tabletop. My home table is almost always Theater of the Mind, like 90% Theater of the Mind, because it's a light action economy, basic like OSR sort of style of game. So you have one action and one movement, and it's not precise movement, it's just band movement, you know, close, near, far. So, and it's a very combat light system on purpose, because I play that game with coworkers, and we have an hour lunch that we spend each week playing D&D, so we can't afford to have a high fidelity action economy system during combat, because we don't have time for like 5 people to have a meaningful combat with monsters. We have to resolve that quickly, so we use a BECME system, and BECME is great with theater of the mind. So it depends. It depends on what kind of a game it is, and where's the fun coming from, and what's the intent. So I run both. That's the true answer. I run both as necessary. Get that cleaned up in there. Almost there. Stay on target. I'm good with having these little bumps and rivels in the branches. I don't want it to be too smooth, but I don't want fur, like little scragglies. That's unacceptable. So something like that's going to be okay. There. Like that's a little bit too fuzzy. I need to tighten that up a bit. So kind of the all went out because you run online campaigns via Tailspire. Oh, right on. Yeah. But I play and run Roll20 sometimes, and mostly theater for in person too. Right on. Well, I mean, in person, it's. I mean, like in person, you're either gonna like have a shitload of props set up because you have your basement or whatever. You can knock your train set aside and set up a massive dungeon if you want to, or because you're in person, you just want to kick back on a couch with like a pad of paper and a little jar of dice. It's you can just stick with theater of the mind, so you don't have to worry about looking at a table all the time. You can just BS with each other with a beer in your hand while you're playing. So in person really is good for either one of those gears. I was in high school. We would take cups of dice with us to Denny's and just play D&D. Just theater of the mind, non-dungeon crawling stuff, just like downtime activity and stuff. We do that while we were eating breakfast. That was fun. Because if we weren't doing any highly tactical combat stuff, then it doesn't matter. And second edition was first and second edition was really, really good about melting away the need for tools and like props and stuff to be able to run the game. It was very complimentary to Theater of the Mind in general. More so, I think, than BECME, because BECME had such a focus, especially at the early levels on the dungeon crawl specifically, while like AD&D was kind of a more, because Beckme was so modular in its design. God bless modularity. The first 3 levels, you know, running around inside of a dungeon, and by the time you hit 4th level, now you're talking about expert. So let's go outside and see the sunlight for once, and you know, you just continue to expand from there. But kind of like with the Rules Cyclopedia, AD&D first, and then obviously second edition as well. Like put it all together, like level 1 to 20. It's all right here, right now, and here's the full gamut of what your character can do. So you immediately had a wider perspective about like where your characters were going to get to, and obviously they kept that format moving forward since then. Just have all levels of your character, like the full gamut of your character in the same book, just to have the complete book. So that was an evolution for the RPG industry, going in that direction from the pamphlet style. And now we're seeing with printing, us going back to that zine style again. It's super fun. I like that. I'm happy about it. But yeah, since AD&D like kind of opened up the breadth of what your characters are supposed to do from the jump, it was easier for you to not think we should be crawling through dungeons and we need to map this stuff out at level 1. You can think more about like a city campaign where like in a lot of my campaigns, I don't have any combat until level 3. Like in 5e, 1 session is spent on level 1, 2 sessions are spent on level 2, and then once you hit level 3, it's basically 3 sessions or like 12 hours of game per level, up through 20th level. And so you can do it that way and clip in like around 250 hours from 1st to 20th level completion. And I've done that 3 times now, so it works. It's a consistent method of progression. It's very aggressive, and it doesn't leave a lot of like downtime for side quests and like social, like character development and like in-depth interaction, stuff like that. But I'm an exploration-based DM. I don't want deep character interaction and backstory stuff. I want to go explore that next thing over there and tell you about that. So like players that enjoy high amounts of exploration with minimal social stuff, like the social encounters I have is generally like geopolitical stuff. Like this is framing a plot that's going to require, that sets your characters up to explore more. So a DM can set their characters up to have more combats, can set your characters up to have more exploration, or set your characters to have more social interaction by how they frame the challenges that they're foreshadowing in the adventure. You're going to have to go talk to this guy, implies a social encounter, as opposed to the secrets that you're looking for are in that wizard's castle. Sets you up to explore it, or you're going to have to raid that wizard's tower to take the thing that you need from them. That's like you're framing the type of adventure you're going to have differently by how you're presenting the solutions to your players. Like the default solution for your players in my campaign is go explore this thing and see what's there. So that sets them up to approach the area. I hope to approach the area with curiosity, to want to see what's there for them to find, and what recently. And again, I always think bastions. So like, what resources are here that we can try to harvest or make use of to our advantage on things that we want to do coming up. But I think the Bastion style of play lends itself most readily to the exploration pillar anyway, because the means of exploration is to discover what's out there that you can use to make things more the way that you want them to. So the act of exploration is kind of world building and resource gathering in the first place. But boy, I could rant about that for a while. So I don't think a lot of people are consciously controlling which pillar are they guiding their characters into interacting with the campaign world with. I think that happens. I think that happens the most like with murder hoboing, when you're not sure what gear you should have the adventure in at the moment, and the players are growing frustrated with like the clutch popping when they're trying to grind into a gear of interacting with something and there's no conversation, or exploring something and there's nothing there, or fighting something and you can't fight these things like that. These are like real amateur DM player mismatches. Like me just saying those things should, for most veteran DMs and players, like, oh yeah, I remember that happening. Oh yeah, that's happened. Or yeah, I know that happens. Like these are the miss, like when there's a, like you're not handing off the baton in a race properly, you're dropping the baton. That's kind of how that happens. The players want to fight something. Well, you're blocking them being able to fight because you want them to have a social interaction right now. It's like you're not, if you don't know how to control and set up different gear, like if you don't know what gear you're in right now anyway, there's nothing you can do to make sure that the players are going to be in gear with you. But once you know what gear you expect this thing to be in, then you can start like sculpting your language to help set up, this is that type of, that's the gear that we're moving into. And then you want to be thinking about how often, like what gear does a team like to drive in most, and make sure that you're creating encounters that work with that gear. Like I, as a DM, I prefer exploration, and that's the easiest one to get players like that. That's like the default gear. It's not neutral. It's just like drive. That's just drive. It's like the game just goes. As long as you keep doing exploration stuff, the game continues to move forward, and the players continue to interact with stuff, and it's bite-sized enough that you can switch who's making decisions at the moment frequently. So I think it's the most inclusive gear of the game. But if your team likes to do a lot of social interaction, then you don't expect to throw a lot of dice in your sessions. Or if like you like combat a lot, then don't expect to make a lot of progress each session, because combat takes time, and you kind of have to adapt how the campaign flows around which gear is your team going to find itself in most often. But yeah, that's why I'm naturally attracted to that Dominion style of play. It just jives with me. And again, that Dominion style most naturally gravitates to the exploration pillar. So naturally, that's where I end up liking to focus most of my time in adventure as a player, and then that just automatically translates into, those are the kind of stories I like to tell as a DM. Man, I'm pretty set in my ways, so I'm like, but I'm very purposefully and conscientiously focused. Like the mega dungeon I'm running for the Martial Powers campaign, it's supposed to be playtesting combat and like ability checks and stuff for interacting in a dungeon environment. So obviously we had to make a dungeon environment for them to operate inside of, which minimizes the amount. Like it has very minimal social interaction. It's probably actually a pretty good mix of like probably 40% exploration, I'd say 30% exploration, 60% combat, and 10% social interaction. That feels about right. Because like when you're in a dungeon, you're going to have a limited palette of things that you can actually like have a conversation with in the first place. So for the most part, if there's going to be conversations between each other while you're killing stuff. So that limits the venue, like that, not venue, the variety of encounters that you're going to have. So like when you're making a mega dungeon, you want to make sure you have some sort of an intelligent creature in there someplace, or like clan of some sort, like a tribe of some sort, so there are intelligent creatures for you to have social interaction with. Because after a while, the characters, that the players feel lonely. They legitimately feel lonely. Like there's no one for us to interact with. We're kind of on our own out here, and it legitimately feels lonely. So having intelligent things that the players can intermittently encounter and interact with, good or bad, gives them someone to yell at that can yell back at them, and that's often all they need. But you have to know these things. Like, it takes time. It takes time to observe these things. You can be told these things as like a checklist of things to pay attention to. But realistically, what you need to do is time served. You just got to put in the time running games, and so you can find out what style you groove in the most, and see if the players that you're working with jive with that as well. So you can confirm that you've got a good match for the team for you to continue to evolve your style with. They like the style of game, so they're going to encourage your growth in that, in depicting games that way. If the team doesn't like the way that you run games, then you need to, honestly, you need to find another team, that because there's so many different types of team flavors. You can run campaigns so many different ways. It's just, you got to shop around to find someone who's going to be a good match. Like, if you want to be a good pastry chef, you don't need to hang out with a pasta guy a lot. Might make fucking awesome pasta, but you want to learn, you want to develop your ability to make pastries. So you got to get out of there. Like, when I want to learn pasta, I will be back, but right now pastries is where my heart is at, and all you can really do is wish you great pastrying. I mean, you'd be a dick otherwise. And that forces you to come to grips with, am I role playing because I want to spend time with the friends that I have, or am I feeling like this is an art form that I need to develop, and that this is like a legitimate type of expression for me, that I feel a hammer inside of me just absolutely wailing at, gotta do it. And if that's the case, then you will go out and make new friends so that you can explore this new creative space that's compelling you. And where you're at right now isn't allowing you the freedom to express that creativity. So you got to go find a venue where you can. And that's never something that's like a dig or a bad about your team. It's just, and being a mismatch with players and DMs styles, that's not a flaw, and that's not a mistake. It's being able to recognize that there are very different ways to play role-playing games. And that if you like playing a game a certain way or running a certain way, then that means that there's groups that like that style as well, because there's only so many things to like about role-playing games. And if you like combination 1-3-5, then there's going to be just as many people that like 1-3-5 as they like 15 as they like 1-4-4. It's just, how much effort do you need to put in to find folks that like the style that you like? That's a bit of a rant. Cheers. It links your account and you can import characters from... Oh, that's super cool. I'm on one of the Spelljammer discords, and one of the guys there has been using the kit bashing toolkit. I guess it's like some sort of like a mod kit bashing tool in Hero Forge that lets you like take shapes, like helmets and like bows and stuff like that, and reshape them to any size that you want, so you can like cobble them together to make little models. And they've been this guy's been using that resource to make Spelljammer ships. So it's been pretty. They're almost like chibi forms of the ships. So they're super fun. They're very distorted. But you're just using Hero Forge tools and like weapons and armor and stuff like that to make these ships, and they're really cool. It's like using Legos with like distinct. Yeah, I'd say they feel more like Lego than anything else. But they're super fun. I definitely respect Hero Forge, very much so. I think this should be thinner. There. Yay, that's pretty clean. There. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Nice. So just do that like 6 more times. What time is it? Get me the hell out of here. Yeah, this session's almost over. I think what I'm going to do is grab this. Just like that. Yep. Just peel across. There, like that. Boom. Cool. All right, so let's work. Yeah, we know the mission. Let's work the plan. Right here. I will set my deadline for today to finishing this clump here. Once this clump is finished, I will call it a day, and we'll be back at like around 11:30 feels about right to continue working on the Bastion complications. God, that was a 5-hour. I can't believe I streamed for 5 hours yesterday. That was fucking crazy. A 5-hour Bastion stream. That's thick. I haven't done a 5-hour session in like a year. I love Bastions, man. Absolutely love it. I suspect that's going to be the next book I'm going to want to publish after I get this Eberron thing out. Regardless of all the other stuff that we've been doing, I love Dominion. So Bastions feels like the next hot thing that I'm going to absolutely want to drop on the DMsGuild. There might be other people with similar ideas, but I mean, I think over the past 8 years, I've pretty much confirmed that other designers don't design the way that I do. I come up with pretty unique ideas. It'd be surprising, I think, at this point, if I had an idea and then found somebody else doing the same thing at the same time. I feel pretty confident. that the reason why I have inspiration to do something is because it doesn't exist and it's mine to do. I think I wouldn't be inspired to push Bastion so hard. Like, just like with Spelljammer, like I've yet to see anyone build a 5e combat system really for 5e that's as comprehensive as I've been able to produce. But I spent a fuck ton of time doing it, so trying to stay humble while also toot my own horn here. Just forgive me on that one. But there's always this fear of, like, you're gonna get scooped, you know? Like, oh, I was having this cool idea and then somebody did it and they totally did it better. Like, I've yet to experience that. Even if I run across something that someone else has done that's similar, it's either taken from a completely different narrative angle or it's meant to just be like a light idea. And while I like dive deep into like every aspect of mechanics that could be modified by the idea that I'm working with, how comprehensive can this be? And then just like iterate, which is a lot more in depth than I see. Like, I'll see people with that like get a taste or like a feeling of the kind of stuff that I like to publish. But then like if there's like 6 steps that I take in depth of how does this, like, what's the ramifications of this if we implement this into your game? Like, how far down the rabbit hole does that go? And like most people take like 1 or 2 steps, like surface level musings or like just like initial ideas or like just like some light ideas versus like here's a 100-page comprehensive guide on how to have that thought process or whatever. I'm talking out of my ass. Don't mind me. I really feel like I'm talking out of my ass here. Maybe I need to not. I also feel like the Eberron setting doesn't get as much love as it deserves. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Eberron has a pretty focused base of enthusiasts and loyalists, and if you could build something good that connects with the Eberron community, it looks like, generally speaking, well, when I was looking at, well, this was like a year ago, but when I was looking a year ago at if you publish an adventure of Eberron on the DMsGuild, it's going to sell a minimum of 100 copies. And there's a really good chance that if it's good content and reasonably priced for what it is, you could sell 500 plus. So there's definitely a niche market for Eberron adventure content in 5e. It's legit there, and that's what was really exciting to me about doing it, because I love Eberron. It's my favorite setting, and it's like it has so much more volume than like say Ravnica does. Like, I'd be crazy to make Ravnica adventures, because like no one is going to, like the Theros anthology did as well as it did because it's Greek themed adventure. The Ravnica doesn't have as strong of a general appeal as like Greek adventure does, right? Greek adventure is like classic. Even if you don't like Magic the Gathering, there's a lot of value there. It's like there's 3 books in the Odyssey anthology, and one of them is well on its way to platinum, and the other 2 are almost gold as well. So like those books have been selling really well consistently for like 3 years now. I am not surprised to see multiple sales per month for the Odyssey anthologies. I was just one of the artists in there. I didn't even do any of the adventures. They just hired me to do land art. It's because it's Theros MTG, right? They hired me to do land art because of the Bob Ross stuff that I can do. I can create really good environment art. So they recruited me on to do. There was 30 islands. Each island has an adventure, and they're all episodic. So what we ended up, after we created all 30 adventures and those were done, we made a sample of how you can chain together multiple islands into an archipelago of adventure, where you start at one end of the archipelago and you work your way across the different islands, and like you start at level 5 at the first island, and after you hit all islands. At the end of it, you're level 12. So you can build these neat little like related themed archipelagos in these because we had 30 adventures from level 1 to 20. So we had all the bases covered. So you could have like this mid-tier group of archipelagos. You could have a high-level tier archipelago over there. And we made a specific separate map for that cluster of islands together. And then we just grouped them into like a pay-what-you-want tour guide of adventuring. It's like if you have these books, you can chain these islands together with this plot hook idea. And that was the follow-up project that we did after we actually published the 3 anthology books. And that was so fun. I love doing that type of stuff. I am proud. That was my idea, and I'm very proud that was my idea. Hold on. I'm gonna take a quick tangent here. DMsGuild.com. The Odyssey Anthology Collection. So here's the first book. Here's the second book. I didn't create... Sticky Hunter did the book covers. She did all the art except for the landscapes. I did the island landscape pictures. And then, like, all the books together, it's 31 books for all of the 30 adventures. And then the Stolen Compass. It's pay what you want, so you don't have to pay for it at all if you don't want to. Here's the archipelago. I made this is a very basic map that I made, but it chains together all these different islands, and then each of these islands are different adventures. And here's the artwork that I made for each of them, and then the island that goes with them. And this was super. Anyway, it's super fun to do. So this talks about how to chain them all together and what the overarching theme of them is. This is stock art. I didn't actually make that one. Let's go look at the first one just so you guys can take a look at. No, I think that's the third one. But yeah, here's one of the island illustrations that I did. I love this city on the crab. Is so cool. Well, I mean, obviously you can see a pretty big difference in style between like the work that I do and Sticky Hunter. It's just different styles, but yeah, it was fun. It was really, really fun making 30 different islands, and now I'm using those for like Bastion art. This one was cool. This the Citadel on an island floating above the waters, but for scale. This was cool to do. Here's another one. I'll probably use this one for the for today's Bastion session. But yeah, I love doing these things, man. They're so cool. I love doing environment art. It's so much fun. Yeah, I got a bunch of books. I don't have that one listed down here. I should probably start adding it to the collection, but here's a bunch of other books I made. Okay, let's see if I can actually finish the project we're on right now. I kind of want to. Oh, I don't know if I have the capacity to do that. I kind of want to. I definitely would want to, but I have no idea how it would fit into my workflow. Is do a Spelljammer anthology using the random system generator that I have in the book. So hire on a bunch of people, each of them do a random world generator. To create their own little world, and then to create a world, and then build an adventure involving it, and then we could chain them together in its own, like into its own system. Exactly the same way as we did the anthology, but for Spelljammer instead of Theros Islands, and then have an overarching theme throughout the adventure, so that there's like a consistent threat in wild space between each of the, or like not worlds, but like maybe like 100-mile or smaller moons or asteroids. So it'd be like Astromundi. It'd be like the Astromundi cluster, where it's just a system full of varying size asteroids that are grouped together into small island nation states. That's a really, really cool theme for a campaign. I love that. Like where there's no actual planets, but everything just lives on little asteroids. I did that with Eberron. The Eberron Spelljammer campaign I run has the history of my world is that 10,000 years ago when Dalcor co-terminated with the world of Eberron, and the nightmares began walking the earth and warping reality around everyone and killing everything as a result of it. The only way that they could separate the two planes from each other so that like sentient humanity could survive the experience without going mad and just being basically like global extinction event of having your nightmares come to life. The way they avoided that, the gatekeepers, they detonated the core of the planet, and that caused the planet to explode, and that caused all the pieces of it to shunt away from the convergence, so that if you survive the experience, you're now on a floating rock that's moving away from the nightmares, and the impact of it would cause the Dalcor realm to tear away out of orbit, so that you don't have to worry about Dalcor ever terminating with the planet again. That caused the center of the planet to become the morning, or like a wild space area, like a wild magic area. So it has this eternal storm system that the closer you get to the actual core of the planet, the higher level spell effects happen. But you could fly through the middle of the planet on your way to other asteroids that are still in orbit around that magical mass. And then you have the actual asteroid belt that was already surrounding Eberron is still there. So you have this inner core of just wild magic. And then you have like Arganesson and Zendrik are at a lower altitude, closer to the core of the planet than the other continents are. So it has more wild surges and chaotic and powerful magic and more magically enchanted creatures. And of course, Arganesson is where all of the dragons live. So they're closer to the core of the planet, where they can now harness that energy more readily and they become actually more powerful. And then you got the mid-level tier, which is where the elves like Aranel and Corvair are at the mid-level. So although they're asked like Thrain and Karnath and Aundair, they're all their own separate asteroid nations that they connect with each other either by swimming fish, birds, or now low-speed Spelljammer ships or airships to cross the void between the different asteroids, either at their level of elevation, so they're above the storms and don't have to worry about it, or they can cut through the storms to try to shortcut getting to another. Like the Lazar pirates have their own little cluster of asteroids that are floating between where the elves and the scattered asteroids of Corvair are at. And then you have high elevation out towards the asteroid belt, which is where Sarlona landed. And so the further out in orbit you get, the more psionic resonance crystals you get, because that's what's in orbit out there. And the closer to the core of the planet, the more it becomes chaos magic. So you have the dichotomy of psionics way out in space and like wild magic at the core. And then depending on which, like Corvair and human society is in the middle between psionics and magic. Zendrik, where the giants were, and the dragons, that's deeper down towards the core where there is wild magic, which is what the dragons and the giants were known for. And then further out is Sarlona, which is where the Kori are at with their Dalcor Dream bonding. That's how they were able to keep tabs on what's going on there by developing Sarlona, because that rock ended up so close to the resonant crystals in orbit that they just naturally took on that Sarlona psionic vibe that Eberron already has them locked into. So now there's Spelljammers that cross between the different island nations and go up into the asteroid belt to harvest materials, but there's no core. The core of the planet's gone. So all you do is like just have one little asteroid. Like this is the asteroid of Thrain. It's our nation state. Like Kabara is halfway in an elevation between Zindric and Corvair. So like that's where all the lizard people are, and the half dragons and the dragonborn and kobolds. They're all in that Kabara space, and it's all because it's closer to the core of the planet. It's hotter, so it's more jungle-like down there. Like Zindric, it's crazy jungle and volcanoes. It's so deep. It's a really fun bit narrative to it. And one of the things that I aspire to eventually do is when I have the bandwidth and don't know what else to do with myself is to like actually build out. I have a rough, really shitty map of the world built this way that I've been using in my own campaign for a while, but it's not professional, and the color combination is really bad. It was like a really early day experiment on coloring, and it's not the best. But I put in a fuck ton of work rebuilding the continent of Corvair and Zindric to accommodate this different elevation idea, and it took me probably 2 months to do that. It was ridiculous. But I did it, and I've kept it as my campaign world for well over a decade at this point. No, that's not true. I think I built that in 2016. Oh yeah, it's not well been almost a decade now. So it's dated. It needs to be improved. And now that I have the Spelljammer book published, I could actually formalize that as a variant for the setting. I already got confirmation from DMsGuild that it's within bounds to rebuild a campaign setting to be inspired by another what's it called? The Doomed Realms or something like that, like where every adventure that Wizards has published involved with the Forgotten Realms, what happens if the bad guys win, and then put it all in the same world. I think that's called Dread Realms or something like that. It's actually a really great product on the DMsGuild. It's super creative and fun. But that's a great example of taking an existing campaign setting, which because you can do Forgotten Realms content because it's an official setting. Same thing with Eberron. You can have stuff about that on the setting as long as it's that setting. So modifying the entire campaign world to be Mad Max style, like in that Dread, like in the Doomed Realms, that confirms that I could rebuild Eberron to be a Spelljammer space opera campaign. So if I ever I'm bored, I need to do something, what should I do? I could do that, and it'd be fucking fantastic. The detail, the nation state of Karnath, with like their Warhammer themed skull shaped shit, like skull faced ships. And one of our campaigns, we had a Karnathi soldier, and he was in power armor. He basically looks like a Warhammer 40k soldier. But he had like a 7-foot sword with instead of like a chain sword and a bolter. He just had a really thick sword. And that was fun. Okay, I might not have the patience to finish this whole thing. I might want to just cut out of here sooner. I think we're after 9:00, and I'm starting to feel it. Yeah, it's 9:13. I'm gonna kick out of here and finish for the day. I'm going to come back and work on Bastion stuff. Let's call it noon. I'm gonna call it noon. That way I have almost 3 hours of me to take care of stuff here on my own. So we'll be back. We'll be back in a little less than 3 hours to work on Bastion stuff, and just going to try to ask you personal thoughts, decisions on the cause in the morning. Then you just kind of blew the planet up. Yeah, but it's super fucking fun. I've ran 3 campaigns using Eberron. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 campaigns. So five now. This is my 5th campaign that we're currently in with the detonated Eberron campaign setting as Spelljammer, and I've been using various Spelljammer mechanics since 3rd edition. Like, anyway. I'm out of here for now, guys. Hopefully I'll catch up with some people on Bastion in about 2 hours, 45 minutes. Otherwise, y'all have a great day. I will be off tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday morning and be back Thursday night. Catch you guys then. Cheers.